In this video, we are going to cover Introduction to ASP. So this is like a transition from what we have done in the earlier videos, that is JavaScript programming, to now going to server-side programming using ASP. And after this, we are going to start with ASP.NET. So basically, I'm just giving a brief overview of ASP.NET. Brief overview of ASP here. Most importantly, we have to here understand the request response model of programming between the browser and the server, and then we have to understand what is the problem we would have with ASP, and eventually then we would enjoy working with ASP.NET. So what is ASP? ASP is a server-side scripting technology that enables scripts embedded in a web page to be executed on server like IIS. So we are going to write now some script, ASP script, or preferred language will be VB script there. And this code we are going to embed in a HTML page, but will have the extension of the file as .asp. This ASP file is going to execute on server and render the appropriate HTML output to the browser. An ASP file can contain text, HTML, XML, and scripts. Everything it can contain. An ASP file has an extension .asp. Now, how does HTML file processing and ASP file processing differs? When a browser submits a request for a file with extension .html in the URL, the web server is responsible for simply loading the content of that file and as it is rendering it to the browser in the form of stream. But when it comes to ASP, it is not like simply load and render. When the browser finds that the extension of the requested file is .asp, it is then going to load an ASAP application in the web server process address space by name asp.dll. Simple words, asp.dll we can say is an ASP engine. So this asp.dll is what is then responsible for loading the .asp page, executing that on the server, or the result of which will generate some HTML, and that HTML is given to IIS for rendering it to the browser. So the basic difference between HTML and ASP is ASP pages are processed on the server, executed on the server. HTML files are not executed on the server. Now, important thing is, how does the ASP engine, asp.dll, knows whether it is server-side script or simple plain text to be rendered as it is to the browser? All server-side script we are going to enclose in percentage delimiter. So anything which is in percentage delimiter is supposed to be VB script code for executing on server and rendering its output to the browser. Fine. So this is something very important. ASP.dll is an ASAP application. ASAP, ISAPI, Internet Server Application Programming Interface. So we need to see some ASP programs. Before that, we have got ASP as an object-based programming language. That means again we have got ASP.NET. ASP is not a programming language. ASP is a scripting technology. VBScript is the programming language. So ASP provides what? ASP provides certain objects like request, response, session, application, server, object context, and ASP error. These objects are what an ASP developer is supposed to learn with VBScript, program them on server. So at least in this session, we are not going to learn all of them. We are only going to put some light on request and response. That's what is the target. We are not doing ASP. We are doing ASP.NET. This is just a prerequisite video what we are covering here. Now, every web server has a default directory. Like if at all you want to work with ASP, you need to have IIS installed on your machine, and for this there is a default directory where all your web content is what you have to place. So the default directory for IIS is c:/inetpub www root. So the content placed in www root or any of its subdirectories is only accessible to the clients from browser. Otherwise, any other content is not accessible to them. So c:/inetpub www root we say is the default directory of IIS. Now you see this physical path. If at all, if this is the physical path of your HTML file in browser, this is what you are supposed to give, wherein we have got the protocol, followed by that the server name. If your server is on the same machine, you may want to use localhost port number. IIS by default port number is 80, so you don't have to mention anything if you are running IIS web server. Followed by that, the directory you have to give is the directory after www root, and then the file name last. So this whole path is referred as absolute path of the page, also referred as URL. In this, the part which starts from here is referred as virtual path after port number. Whatever we have, all this is virtual path. So physical path, absolute path, virtual path. These three things we are going to use pretty frequently. Before I take up my first example, I just want to give you information on how to configure IIS for ASP, or how to configure IIS itself actually, and then ASP if you are using Vista operating system. In such case, you should go to control panel, right, programs, and here programs and features. Click on turn Windows features on, say continue. So actually you are going to get this kind of dialog. Here you have to expand IIS, Internet Information Service, and put a check mark for web management tools, put a check mark for worldwide services, and then specifically you'll have to check here ASP and click on OK. It will then take a while before the whole thing gets installed. Then from here you can now go to administrative tools, IIS manager, say continue, and expand this site's default website. This is where my configure properties for ASP application, IIS ASP is installed. Clear? So make sure you have to do all this if you are using Vista. If you are not using Vista, if you are using IIS, just install IIS and things will automatically be taken care of. Sorry, if you are using XP, it's much easier in XP. Let's now do the first ASP page. File, new file. I'll take HTML page, open, and here I can give hello ASP. Save it. Now where should I save? c:/inetpub www root. I'll call it as first ASP demo.asp must be the extension. Extension is very important. Click on save. ASP demo page. Now how to open this? Go to Internet Explorer. Here you are supposed to give http:/localhost/ whatever file name you have given, first ASP demo.asp. Hello ASP. But is there any dynamic content coming here? No. So how to write some dynamic content? You have to use percentage delimiter and give whatever you want in between.